Uncovered my mom's affair with a family friend by sneaking into her room, and now she's gone, leaving chaos and betrayal. I, Caroline, 18F, have had suspicions of my mother for a long time now. About 2 years ago, my mother introduced a new friend to my family. My mom met Scott through his girlfriend, who I believe she worked with. From the get-go, I didn't like Scott. Something about him made me feel deeply uncomfortable, from the first time I met him, and though the rest of my family loved him, I politely refused to spend any more time with him than needed. Scott was at my house practically every day, and if he wasn't at ours, my family was at his place. He and my dad grew very close, to the point of my dad calling Scott his best friend along with my mom, and my little brother, Wilbert, 15 meters, spent a considerable amount of time at their place, bonding and watching wrestling. Scott and my mother would frequently hang out alone, doing things like grocery shopping together, going on drives, walks, basically anything was turned into a hangout for them. At first, I thought I was crazy for being a little suspicious. This is my mom. This is the woman who gave birth to me, taught me how to walk. My mother, who I have always been so close to. My kind, gentle, empathetic mom. I pushed it down for months. And then, my best friend, Amara, 18F, moved in with us. The first time she ever met Scott, she came straight to me. "Hey, what the fuck is going on with your mom and Scott?" The moment she vocalized that something felt off to her too, I did feel validated, but I just got this big, deep hole in my gut. I think I already knew the truth. I just couldn't accept it. For about 6 to 7 months, Amara and I would occasionally notice little things. Things that meant nothing on their own, but started to look weird when added up. For example, my mom had the kind of car screen that could Bluetooth connect to her phone, and would show her text messages on the screen when she received them. On the way to a therapy appointment of mine, I saw a notification on the car's screen. 3 red heart emojis from Scott. Around my dad and brother, they acted alright. But when it was just the two of them, they acted different. I noticed the joke flirting intensifying the longer time went on, and I took specific notice of how it didn't happen around my father. Essentially, though, for months, my suspicions were purely confined to either my best friend or I's bedrooms. We would talk about it, but I'll admit, I didn't take it very seriously for a long time. It was just such a big thing to wrap my head around, and I have always been called things like too sensitive and dramatic, so I assumed the suspicions were just that. Just me being myself and looking for problems where there weren't any. However, it all changed the night of Valentine's Day. I was at my boyfriend's house. I'll call him Isamu. 18 male, we had just gone on a very nice date, and we were cuddling in his bed, when I got a frantic text from Amara. She told me that she had just discovered from my brother's girlfriend that he also had suspicions of mom, because of texts he saw on her iPad. Immediately, I was furious. It is one thing for me to be scared, for me to harbor these suspicions, as painful as they were, but my brother? My little brother? No. Fuck no. I will not allow anything or anyone to make him feel that way if I can help it. And that includes my mom. I called him right after I got the text. He confirmed what Amara had told me. He told me that months ago, he had been playing in mom's iPad, which was at the time synced to her iCloud account, meaning her texts were showing up on the iPad as well as her phone. Somehow he ended up looking at mom's texts with Scott. The first thing he saw was a text from my mom stating, "Don't text. Wilbert has the iPad." Very strange and suspicious. He said that he scrolled up, and he saw my mother sending Scott an Amazon listing for lingerie. He said after that he couldn't bear to look anymore, and that within the next couple days, my mom disconnected her iCloud from the iPad. I had no proof. Nothing at all. So I came up with a plan. I had a curfew, so I had to go home soon. My boyfriend was going to drive me home, but we would park up the neighborhood from my house so that his car wasn't visible on my family's doorbell camera. We would walk down and say goodbye in front of the camera like normal, and then I would sneak him in through the basement door. Luckily, both Amara and I were the only ones in the basement, so I knew we wouldn't get caught. Together, Amara, Isamu and I were going to wait for my mom to fall asleep, where I would sneak into her room. My parents were already in separate rooms, for different reasons, steal her phone, go through it, and immediately tell my dad if I found anything. Here's where I fucked up. Meaning to text Amara, I texted my mom, saying I'm going to sneak into her room and take her phone after she falls asleep. Fuck. I thought I was dead, and the whole plan was off. I tried to play it off, but it was clear my mom was suspicious. Wilbert's room was right across from mom's, so I made him the guard. He would tell me when mom's light went off, and an hour later I would sneak in for her phone. I assume because of what I texted her on accident, my mom didn't turn her lights off until 4 a.m. At 5:30, it was time. Amara and I crept upstairs while Isamu stayed downstairs waiting for us. Amara sat on the couch. I took a second to calm myself. And I snuck into mom's room. The entire time, I was shaking. I have GAD, generalized anxiety disorder, and while this situation would have been terrifying for anyone, it was amplified for me. I couldn't see her phone, the room was pitch black. I had only been in there for a few seconds when she woke up. She groggily asked me what I was doing in her room. On the fly, I came up with the excuse that I was looking for a bra I had lost because I couldn't sleep and wanted to do some late-night laundry. She clearly didn't believe me. But I left, and Amara and I went back downstairs to Isamu, defeated. Until she texted me an hour later. The text said, "We both know you weren't looking for a bra. What were you really looking for?" The moment I read it, I knew what I had to do. I had no proof at all. No evidence. Just my word, Amara's word, and my brother's. But I had to tell my dad. At this point, it was 6:30 in the morning. I hadn't slept at all, and was running off of pure adrenaline and fear. I was petrified of what was going to happen. But I went back upstairs with Amara, woke up my brother, and we headed to Dad's room. I woke him up as gently as I could. He was clearly confused to see me, my brother and Amara in his room, especially at 6:30 a.m. I sat on the floor next to his bed and held his hand. I had to look my father in the face and tell him I believed my mom, his wife of 20+ years, was having an affair with the family best friend. It is the hardest thing I have ever done. I had to stare him in the eyes. I sobbed like a baby as I told him, crying, holding his hand, and begging him to believe me, apologizing for her actions. He didn't believe me at first. It was clear on his face and in how he responded. But the longer I talked, the more I told him I had seen. The more I told him about what Wilbert had seen. I could see it on his face the more I talked. I watched my strong, ever stoic father blink away tears, and it filled me with a rage I hope I never experience again. Once he believed me, I offered to confront Mom. Dad told me to do it. So I did. I stormed into my mother's room with Wilbert tracking behind me. I flipped her light switch on and, in an anger that surprised myself, I told my mom we needed to talk. In the light, her phone was visible, half hidden under her pillow on her bed. Wilbert saw it first, and he rushed forward, grabbing it and immediately handing it to me. At first, my mom was just sleepily grunting about what we were doing. The moment she realized I had her phone, though, she changed. My mother became a stranger right in front of my eyes. She started cussing at me, and my brother left the room. "Give me my fucking phone, this is none of your fucking business." She tried to grab the phone from my hands. But I had already put in her password. And I had already opened the texts with Scott. Right there, the first thing I saw was a very frantic text my mother sent him after I tried sneaking in her room the first time. "I think Caroline is onto us." The moment I read it, it was like my mind turned off and my body turned on. I turned, held her phone to my chest, and ran as fast as I could out of the room. I screamed across the house until I reached Dad's room. "Dad, it's true. Dad, it's true." I ran so hard and screamed so loud that Isamu says the moment he heard the thud of my footsteps from the basement, he knew what I had found. At this point, I was inconsolably angry. Screaming, sobbing, and throwing up, literally. After I saw Mom's texts, I was gagging and retching for half an hour. Mom came after me into Dad's room as I tried to explain what I saw to Dad. She came after me, getting in my face and still trying to go for her phone. She was cussing and yelling at me, which she has never done before. I didn't recognize her at all. All I felt was pure, unadulterated hate. I have never truly hated anyone. But in that moment, I hated my mother. I started screaming back. "Mom, give me my fucking phone. Me, tell him what you did. Tell him what you did. Tell him what you did. Be an adult. Be an adult. Mom, I am being an adult. Me, are you? Tell him what you did. Tell him what you did." In the end, I had to beg my mom to be a fucking adult and tell Dad what she had been doing. Eventually, she did. In a moment, she went from angry to completely calm. She stood up straight and looked my dad in the eyes. "Scott and I have been having a relationship," she said. A relationship. She couldn't even call it what it was, an affair. After that is a huge blur. I screamed at my mother. I told her to go fuck herself, and I told her she wasn't my mom. Everyone was telling me to calm down, but I couldn't. I simply couldn't calm down. Pretty soon after she confessed, she just left. She left the room and a few minutes later we all heard the garage door open and close. She was just gone. No goodbye. Not even a final "I love you" for my brother and I, nothing. Just gone. I have never been so enraged in my life. And I pray to whatever higher power I never will again. For the next 2.5 weeks, I stayed with my boyfriend and his family, who was very understanding of my situation once I told them and was very accommodating to me, which I am forever grateful for. I couldn't stand being home. It just all made me so sick. I thought it couldn't get worse. There's no way it can get worse than it already is, right? Wrong. A few days after the confrontation, I got a call from my dad. My mom had checked herself into a psychiatric hold. I have come to believe this was more than anything else a move to try to earn pity from me, specifically. Throughout my childhood and adolescence, I struggled with intense suicidal ideation. This resulted in me being hospitalized and kept in a ward against my will when I was in middle school. I believe my mom pulled this to try to get me to stop being mad at her. I believe she was looking for sympathy. Suddenly, I was enraged all over again. And it was only going to keep getting worse. A few days after that, I received another call from my father. The affair had been going on for a year and a half. I still don't really have words to describe how this makes me feel. I will say one thing. During this time, my mom was consistently pushing me to get a matching tattoo with me. She even scheduled an appointment without consulting me, and I had to bluntly tell her I didn't want it for her to back off. I can't believe the audacity and insanity of a woman who would try to get matching tattoos with her daughter, knowing what she was doing behind her back. Right after I moved back into my house, my mom found a place, and to my horror, my dad kicked out Amara, and she was forced to move in with my mom, as she had nowhere else to go. Both Amara and I were extremely uncomfortable with the new arrangement. Amara had gone through something similar in her family, catching both of her parents cheating on each other in her childhood, and I know that being forced to live with my cheating mother was triggering in a specific, deep way for her. I still don't fully understand why my dad made Amara move out. I believe it was mostly financial, that he knew he couldn't support the three of us on his salary alone. Still, I am still upset with him over this. Amara being forced to live with mom, though, did provide one good thing. Insight. A spy. Every single thing my mom has said after the separation, I have heard from Amara. My mom very quickly put on this woe is me act. She constantly says things to Amara like, well, if you're not here, I might just get really drunk. She wallows in self-pity. She has even had the audacity to make comments about how much she misses my dad. Daily, now, I get at least one text from Amara with another thing that my mom has done. Amara and I are both sick of her. She has a job, and she is saving to get a car and move out. I plan on moving out of my house with her, but I have been unable to find a job for the last 4 months. Seriously. In the last 4 months I have applied to I believe 54 jobs in total, and I haven't even scheduled a single interview. I am currently no contact with my mom and I intend on keeping it that way. I have no desire to speak to her after what she did. I have a very strong, firm moral compass, and I will not sacrifice it for her. I genuinely believe cheating is one of the most evil things you can do to someone. Not only did she cheat, she brought him around our family. She acted like she was friends with Scott's girlfriend. My mother is not half of the person I thought she was. And I will never forgive her. Every day, I close my eyes and I can hear her screaming at me. I can feel the tightness in my throat after I spent that half an hour retching. I can feel the way the hate burned in my eyes as I stared at her after she confessed. I can't sleep, I can barely eat. My only real escapes are Amara and Isamu, who I am eternally so grateful for. If this had happened just a year ago, I would have killed myself. Genuinely. The moment I was done telling my dad, I would have done it. Continuing to live has been an intense and constant fight. But I refuse to give in. I refuse to end my life over another woman's actions. I am strong, and I am firm, and I'm staying alive. Isamu and Amara, if you see this, I love you both so much. Thank you for being there on that day with me. Thank you for lending me your courage. I couldn't have done it without your strength. Dad and Wilbert, I love you. I would do anything for you. And I did. I know this is hard, but I love my family. We are strong. And, most importantly, Mom. I have one message for you. Rot. Update 1. First, the good news, I finally got a job. After 73 applications, yes, I kept counting, I landed a position at a small cafe downtown. The pay isn't amazing, but it's something, and my manager is understanding about my situation. Sometimes I still have panic attacks in the bathroom between shifts, but I'm managing. The routine helps. Amara moved out of my mom's place last month. She saved enough for a security deposit on a tiny studio apartment, and I've been staying with her most nights. Dad doesn't say much about it, but I can tell he's relieved I have somewhere else to go. The tension at home has been suffocating. Speaking of Dad, he's been different. Sometimes I catch him staring at old family photos when he thinks no one is looking. He started therapy, which surprised me, but I'm proud of him. Wilbert told me Dad has been teaching him how to cook, something Mom always did. They're terrible at it, but they're trying. Last week they made lasagna that was somehow both burnt and undercooked, and we all laughed for the first time in months. The worst part is that Scott's girlfriend finally found out. Not from my mom or Scott, of course, but from neighborhood gossip. She showed up at our house one evening, completely broken. Dad let her in, and they talked for hours. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but when she left, her eyes were swollen from crying, and Dad looked drained. He told me later that they'd formed a sort of betrayed spouses club. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry at that. Mom has been trying to contact me. At first, it was just texts that I ignored, then calls I declined. Last week, she showed up at the cafe during my shift. I froze when I saw her, and my coworker had to take over. Mom just stood there, looking smaller somehow, holding a gift bag. When I finally went outside to confront her, she tried to hug me. I stepped back. Caroline, please, she said, her voice breaking. I miss you so much. I just stared at her, feeling nothing and everything all at once. You miss having someone who thought you were a good person, I replied. She flinched like I'd slapped her. I made a terrible mistake. I'm in therapy now. I'm trying to understand why I did what I did. Good for you, I said, and I meant it. I'm glad she's getting help, but that doesn't mean I have to be part of her recovery. She pushed the gift bag toward me. Inside was a journal, handmade, beautiful. I thought maybe you could write in it, she said. You always loved writing. I took it, not because I wanted anything from her, but because it was easier than arguing. As she was leaving, she turned back. Scott and I aren't together anymore. I ended it the day after. Everything happened. I didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? Congratulations on doing the bare minimum? The most unexpected development came from Wilbert. My quiet little brother has become the family mediator somehow. He visits mom once a week for dinner. At first, I was angry with him for it, but he sat me down and explained. I'm not forgiving her, he said firmly. I'm just trying to understand. And I don't want to lose both parents. That hit me hard. He's only 15. He shouldn't have to navigate this mess. Last night, I had a nightmare about that morning, the confrontation, mom screaming, dad crying. I woke up gasping, and Amara held me until I could breathe again. When I finally calmed down, I realized something. I'm not just angry anymore. I'm grieving. I lost the mother I thought I had, the family I thought was unbreakable. Isamu says I should try therapy too. He might be right. The rage still burns, but it's consuming me from the inside out. I don't want to forgive mom, I'm nowhere near that, but I need to find a way to live with this pain that doesn't destroy me. Yesterday, I opened the journal mom gave me. I stared at the blank pages for an hour before writing a single sentence. I don't know who you are anymore. I don't know if I'll ever show it to her, but it felt good to write it down. Dad asked me last week if I thought people could truly change. I didn't have an answer for him. I still don't. But I know that I'm changing, whether I want to or not. We all are. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time. Working. Saving money, trying to sleep without nightmares. Supporting Wilbert. Finding moments of peace with Isamu and Amara. It's not much, but it's something. It has to be enough. Update 2. The cafe promoted me to shift supervisor last month. My manager pulled me aside after closing and said she'd noticed how I'd stabilized over time. I almost laughed at that word, stabilized, like I was some kind of chemical compound that had finally stopped reacting. Maybe that's not far off. The extra money helps, though. Amara and I have started a savings account together. We don't talk about what it's for, but we both know. Amara got accepted into a nursing program. She lights up when she talks about it, and watching her excitement is like seeing color return to a world that's been grayscale. Last week, she came home with a second-hand stethoscope she found at a thrift store and practiced listening to my heartbeat. Still strong, she whispered, and kissed me. Those moments make everything else bearable. Dad sold the house. He didn't tell anyone until the papers were signed. Wilbert called me, panicking, the day the sold sign went up. I rushed over to find Dad methodically boxing up 23 years of our family life. He looked up when I came in, his face calm but his hands shaking. I can't sleep in that bedroom anymore, was all he said. I helped him pack until 3 a.m. We worked mostly in silence, occasionally pausing over photos or forgotten toys. He's moving into a 2-bedroom apartment closer to his office, 1 room for him, 1 for Wilbert. There's a pull-out couch in the living room that he said is for me, but we both know I won't be using it much. The strangest part was finding mom's things she'd left behind. A half-empty bottle of perfume. A novel with a bookmark still in it. Her gardening gloves. Dad had placed them all in a single box labeled Karen. When I asked what he planned to do with it, he just shrugged and said, "Not my responsibility anymore." Wilbert is struggling with the move. He's angry at Dad for not consulting him, angry at Mom for making this necessary, angry at me for not being home more. Last Sunday, I took him out for ice cream like we used to do when he was little. He barely spoke until we were walking home, and then suddenly asked, "Do you think we'll ever be a normal family again?" I didn't have the heart to tell him we never were. Mom has been seeing Wilbert regularly, but she's respected my boundaries and stopped trying to contact me directly. Instead, she sends letters. Actual handwritten letters, like we're living in some period drama. I've received 12 so far. The first few, I threw away unopened. Then I started reading them but not responding. They're complicated. Full of apologies and explanations about her therapy journey, discoveries about her childhood trauma, reflections on her marriage to Dad. In her last letter, she wrote, "I don't expect your forgiveness, Caroline. I just want you to know that I see now what I couldn't see then, how selfish I was, how much pain I caused. You deserved better than the mother I was." I read that line over and over, trying to feel something definitive. Satisfaction? Relief? Closure? Instead, I just felt tired. Scott's ex-girlfriend, Melissa, has become an unexpected friend. We meet for coffee every couple of weeks. At first, we just compared notes on our respective betrayals, but now we talk about everything. She's applying to law schools, determined to reinvent herself. The best revenge is living well, she told me once, though we both know it's not that simple. The most surprising development came 3 weeks ago when Dad called me, sounding more animated than I'd heard him in months. "I met someone," he said. "Her name is Diana. She's a widow who works in the same building as Dad." They started talking in the elevator, then graduated to lunch breaks, and now they're cautiously dating. Dad brought her to dinner last week. She's quiet but warm, with laugh lines around her eyes and a tendency to touch Dad's arm when she's making a point. Wilbert was coldly polite at first, but by dessert, they were debating the merits of different Marvel movies, and I caught Dad watching them with something like hope on his face. I don't know how to feel about Diana. Part of me is happy for Dad, but another part feels irrationally angry, like he's betraying our family all over again, which is ridiculous. Mom was the one who betrayed us. Dad deserves happiness. I know this logically, but emotions aren't logical. I finally started therapy. My therapist, Dr. Chen, doesn't look much older than me, but she has this calm presence that makes it easier to talk about the hard things. In our third session, she asked me what I missed most about my life before everything fell apart. The certainty, I answered without hesitation. I was so certain about everything, who my parents were, what our family meant, what my future would look like. And now? She prompted. Now I'm certain of nothing. She nodded and said something that's been echoing in my head ever since. Certainty is comfortable, but it's often an illusion. Uncertainty is where growth happens. I'm trying to embrace the uncertainty. Some days are better than others. Osamu got a job offer in Seattle. He hasn't accepted yet, but we both know he will. He's been my rock through all of this, but I can see how the constant emotional support has drained him. When he showed me the offer letter, there was such longing in his eyes. I told him to take it, that we'd figure out the distance. I meant it, but the thought of losing his daily presence feels like another small death. Last week, I ran into Scott at the grocery store. I turned down an aisle, and suddenly there he was, holding a box of cereal, looking older and thinner. We both froze. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might be sick. He spoke first. "Caroline," he said, my name sounding strange in his mouth. "How are you?" Such a normal question for such an abnormal situation. I managed to say I was fine, which was both true and false. He nodded, shifting awkwardly. "I've wanted to apologize to you for a long time," he said. "What I did to your family. There's no excuse." I stood there, cart handle digging into my palms, as he apologized. He talked about therapy and making amends and how he thinks about what he did every day. All the things I'd once desperately wanted to hear. But standing there in the cereal aisle, fluorescent lights humming overhead, his words felt hollow. When he finished, I simply said, "I hope you're getting the help you need," and walked away. My hands were steady as I paid for my groceries, but I cried the entire drive home, not for Scott, not even for Mom, but for the person I used to be who would have found that confrontation cathartic instead of just exhausting. I finally wrote in the journal Mom gave me. Not just one sentence, but pages and pages. I wrote about the anger that still flares unexpectedly, the grief that comes in waves, the small joys I've found despite everything. I wrote about Wilbert's growth spurt and Dad's new apartment and Amara's dreams. I wrote about the family we were and the scattered pieces we've become. I don't know if I'll ever show it to Mom. Maybe someday. For now, it's just for me, a way to make sense of the senseless, to trace the fault lines of our family earthquake and map the new landscape it created. Yesterday, Amara and I went hiking at sunset. We climbed to the overlook point and watched the sky turn pink and gold. Standing there, with her hand in mine and the world spread out below us, I felt a moment of perfect peace. Not happiness exactly, but something quieter and more durable. "We're going to be okay," Amara said, as if reading my thoughts.